There we go. Welcome everyone to the 2024 Comrades Marathon webinar series. This is number 5 as we inch ever closer to race day in 2024. It is so good to have each and every one of you with us here today. I see there are a lot of people on this webinar, which is great. I'm going to get into some formal introductions in just a moment, but I just do want to give people a chance to click on before we do get into the meat and potatoes, as they say. But in the meantime, if I can ask you to just let me know that you can see and hear us, let us know in the comments. Just let me know if you can. And also, while you're at it, let me know where you're joining us from, what part of South Africa, what province, what city, or if you're outside of the borders, if you're on the African continent, please do let me know. If you're in Europe, if you're North America, Australia, let us know where you are joining us from. Please do let me know in the chat right now. There we go. Gert is joining us from Gauteng. Welcome. Fastest fingers first there, Gert. Great to have you with us. Tanya is joining us from Pietermaritzburg, just around the corner from Comrades House. Ryan's in Alberta in Canada. We've got Lehasha who's joining us, saying Yebo, Joburg South. Welcome to you. Saskatchewan, Canada represented as well. Hein, welcome. We've got Shay, who's an Irishman in Frankfurt. That's an interesting combination. Shay, welcome to you as well. So it looks like everything is working exactly the way it is. While you're at it, also let me know how many Comrades you've run. If you're brand new and this is your first Comrades, we'd love to hear it. If you are going for your back-to-back, so you've done it down, you're going for the up this year, let us know as well. Maybe you're going for your green number, maybe you're going for a double green. Let us know that as well in the chat. So lots of comments coming through, which is great. A super brief introduction of our panel this evening. Joining us tonight is the official Comrades Marathon coach, Lindsay Parry. Lindsay, over the last 15 years, has coached professionals and amateurs to PRs and podiums in some of the world's most prestigious races. Lindsay has coached back-to-back winners in the Comrades Marathon in Caroline Wassman and Shanae Bosman. Is also Adele Brudrake's coach, finishing second last year as well. Lindsay's led teams to 3 Olympic Games. He's been to 3 Commonwealth Games as well, going to his 4th Olympics this year as well in Paris, just around the corner from doing that. And he's a pretty decent runner in his own right, a marathon PB of 2:45 and also a pretty decent Comrades PB as well. Great to have you on the call with us tonight, Lindsay. And then my name, just so you know who I am, I'm going to be just hosting things tonight, making sure that everything flows smoothly, moderating the chat and posing the questions to our panelists. My name is Brad Nadalt. I'm known as the guy who lost a Backstreet Boy en route to running his very first Comrades Marathon. Clocked in 165 kgs when I decided that I was going to start running, as lots of South Africans do, to run Comrades. Since then, I've gone on to do 3 Comrades. I've done 5 Ironmans as well. Also joining us tonight is Sifiso Ngoma, who's the marketing coordinator for the Comrades Marathon. He's been the MC of the Stomp Awards in Cape Town. He's the assistant race director for the Pietermaritzburg City Marathon and also the race director of the Green Trail. A very good evening to you, Sifiso. Sifiso is going to be talking a little bit about Comrades housekeeping because it is a very important time in Comrades preparations. We are inching closer to that deadline of making sure your qualifiers are done, all your info is updated, and Sifiso is going to tell you exactly how to do that tonight. And then also a very warm welcome to Gina Hinchliff, who joins us this evening. She has got an incredible Comrades story, and I'm so excited to share it tonight. First Comrades run back in 1989. So pretty decent runner in her own right, a PB of 8:29. Loves sharing her time with others on the road. Has gone on to do triple green, or coming up in 2025, I should say. She's got her double and inching ever closer to that triple green number, which is great. So a very warm welcome to all of our panelists this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. And before I hand over to Sifiso, I do want to just ask everyone, if you wouldn't mind just taking a second. We obviously want to reach as many Comrades runners as we can on these webinars. So I want to ask you, if you wouldn't mind just sharing the link where you're watching this webinar. Just share it. And I know all of you are in WhatsApp groups with your running club, with running mates. Just pop that link into those WhatsApp groups and get them onto this webinar, because we really do want to make sure that you and all your running buddies and all your club mates get the medal you're chasing on the 9th of June. So I'm going to stop for a second and let you do that, because we can see if you do it or not, and we're only going to start once you do it. I'm kidding. That would be very awkward, and that's not actually what happens. So, but I'm going to ask you to do it anyway, okay? Dion Joubert saying shared. Fantastic, Dion. Thank you so much. All right, Sifiso, I'm going to hand over to you. I know you've got lots of great things to share with our viewers this evening. So over to you, sir, and we look forward to hearing what's up Comrades' sleeve in 2024.
Thank you so much, Brad. Good evening to everyone who's attending this webinar tonight. Welcome, and I hope your training is going very well. We are 45 days away from the Comrades Marathon, which will be on the 9th of June this year. It's an up run. We haven't had an up run since 2019. So I think everyone who will be running Comrades this year will feel like a novice a little bit. Without wasting no time, for me tonight is to do some housekeeping, as Brad has mentioned, and also just to take you through our official charities and how you can assist our charities. So Comrades established Amapitipiti Charities in 1996. And since the establishing of this charity arm of the Comrades Marathon, we have raised over 71 million rand, thanks to all the runners, the donors, our sponsors who assist in raising funds and meeting the targets that we set each year to raise funds for our charities. So there are a couple of ways how you can assist our charities. One, we have a charity stand dedicated to all our 6 official charities at the expo, whereby you can purchase any merchandise that they are selling, your raffle tickets, your caps, t-shirt or whatever. That's really goes a long way in assisting them. You can also, I think everyone, when you were entering, you could see there was an option where you were asked whether you would like to donate any amount into one of our charities. So those who have made the donations with their entries, we really appreciate that. It really helps a lot on our charities and on the work that they are doing. The second option is the race for charity, which I'm going to explain briefly. And hopefully I'm going to get at least 30 people out of the group that we have tonight to register and sign up for our charities. And then the last one is the Toyota Win a Car competition, which I will explain later. So these are our 6 official charities. One Community Chest, Childline, KZN, South African National Parks Honorary Rangers, Hillcrest Aid Center Trust, Rise Against Hunger, and Childhood Cancer Foundation South Africa. So all these charities are doing some incredible work in our communities to help others and improve the lives of the people in the communities where they are based and where some of us are coming from. So there are a few benefits into raising funds for our charities. There's quite a lot, but I'll just mention a few that maybe I have noted for tonight. One is that if you sign up and raise funds for our charities, you'll be contributing to a worthy cause that you feel passionate about. We all are passionate about something. So with the work that our charities are doing, because it ranges from different streams of work in our communities that is much needed. Everyone should be at least passionate about one or two of the things. So all you have to do is to contribute to that worthy cause, is to sign up and raise funds for the charities. And then number 2, once we have committed to raise funds for a charity, so our charities normally will prepare an appreciation gift or a sort of a goodie bag that you can collect at the expo. If you have raised a certain amount of money or you have reached a certain threshold, then you do get that appreciation from the charity that you're raising funds for, and then they welcome you with that gift at the expo. They actually call it a hero's goodie bag. So go out there and be a hero. You will receive your reward on the expo. And then number 4, as Comrades Marathon, we reserve a space for 500 runners who will be required to raise a minimum of 6,000 rand. for their chosen charity. That needs to be done before the end of day on the 6th of May, which is, by the way, the last day you need to update your qualifying and your profile and everything on your profile. So if you are raising funds for charity and you happen to raise a minimum of 6,000 Rand by that day, then you get to improve your seeding and start on C badge. So with improving your seeding, you still need to, it is important to note that you still need to do your bare minimum of qualifying, which is a sub 450 on a standard marathon. And then if you are able to raise that 6,000 Rand, then you get to improve your seeding and go and start on C badge. That will help you cut a couple of minutes on the starts, because we know if, for instance, you are at the back on H, which is somehow stands for page H, stand for Harwick, you start in Harwick, sometimes you get to cross the start line a bit late. So if you do raise funds for our charity, you get to improve your time as early with a couple of minutes early on the race. So you have 12 days as from today, if you haven't signed up for charity, to try if you want to improve your seeding by raising funds for charity. You have 12 days from now. You can sign up and then try and get those funds, and by the 6th of May, you should be able to qualify and start on C badge. And then just the last thing, on race day, your training can take you up to certain kilometers on race day. So you will need your mental strength, and over and above your mental strength, if you are raising funds for our charity, this is one sense of purpose where you can dig deep in and push yourself through to finish, knowing exactly that you are doing something incredible for could be, if you have chosen charities that deals with kids, for the kids that are sitting there at home watching you on TV. So we really encourage runners to sign up for our charities. How to sign up? It's pretty much easy. You just need to go to your EasyReg profile. If you have a Comrades app, you can go to your app and then sign in. Once you sign in, you'll be redirected to EasyReg on this page, be it on your phone or your computer. You click on login. Once you click on login, you'll be required to put in your email address and the password that you've created when you were creating your profile or when you were entering. If you have forgotten your password, there is an option for forgot password. They do send you a link to create a new password. Just to help you, just make it as easy as possible. You can simply put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't need to put extra security layer on your password, because you end up forgetting those passwords. I'm talking from experience. So make it as easy as possible. You need a minimum of 6 digits for your password, and then you'll be sharp. Once you've pressed login, you'll be taken to this page. You just need to click on your Comrades entry. When you click on your Comrades entry under your dashboard, if you scroll down, you will come across Race for Charity. If you haven't signed up, you just need to click join. Once you click join, you will be prompted to confirm whether do you really want to raise funds for charity. And then you click on yes. Then you'll be taken to this page. So what happens here, there are 4 important things that are required. One, you can put in a profile picture at the top that will appear on your fundraising profile. And then number 2, which is most important, is you select the charity that if you click on that drop down, it gives you the option out of the 6 charities that I've mentioned. You can select the one that is close to your heart. Then below that, you can just write a short story why is that charity close to your heart. And then below that, the most important one is when you set your target. How much do you wish to raise for that particular charity? Once you've set your targets, below that there is there is that yes or no question there, whether you would like Comrades Marathon to share your contact details with the charity. I always advise charity or fundraisers to click on yes, so that charities will be in communication with you, be it to support you with your fundraising or to send your personalized thank you messages for the work that you are doing for them. And then you press save. Once you press save, your name will go onto the list of runners that are fundraising for our charities. And for those that are fundraising, that are raising funds for our charities, well done. As of this afternoon, we have just reached over 2 million on our race for charity. That's where we are currently sitting right now. So we really encourage everyone to sign up and raise as much as you can for our charity to make a difference, and also to assist our charities. So once you have completed the sign up page, your name will appear there. You will see your profile picture, your name, the name of the charity that you are raising funds for, and then on the side you will see your target and the amount that we have raised. Everyone can just go to Comrades website and click on donate. Once they click on donate on your profile, they will be prompted to they will be redirected to a page where they can put in the details, how much they want to donate on your fundraising campaign, and if they want to write a message, a good luck message, you can see over there under Anantan Chetty's profile, there is a person who donated 500 rand and then wrote a message, all the best. So whoever that donates to your profile, the information will appear there, who donated and how much they donated, and the message and the good luck message, a personalized message that they've put in for you. What will it cost you as a runner to fundraise for our charities? It won't cost you a lot. We just need 4 things. It will cost you your time, your love, patience, and a sheer will to make a difference in the communities. What is the expectation from you once you've registered? You just need to share the link as much as you can with your network or people that can be able to assist you with your fundraising. You can share the link on your Facebook, on X, or emails, or copy the link and share via WhatsApp. So whoever that click on your link will just, this is how it will appear on their page. And then they can click on donate and chip in whatever amount that they wish to put under your fundraising campaign. The last thing you can do to assist our charities is the Win a Car competition. We have the cheapest car in South Africa. This car that you see on your screen wherever you are goes for 50 rand. The tricky is, in order to get this car, you need to buy a raffle ticket from our charities or log into Comrades website, and under our charities, there is a tab where it says Win a Car competition. You click there, you can purchase your tickets online. You can buy as many tickets as you want. We are so fortunate that our sponsor, Toyota, gave us a Corolla Cross. This year, they used to give us a Corolla Quest for the past couple of years. They've changed and upped the ends this year. So they have given us this beautiful SUV here. So everyone stand a chance to win this car. The only thing, as long as you are living within South African borders, you can enter this competition. All the proceeds that come from the raffle tickets goes directly to our charities. And if you are whether you are a runner or a supporter, or you will be sitting at home, you can enter this competition. If your name gets drawn on the day, excuse me, if your name gets drawn on the day, we will contact you after the race and arrange for the car to be delivered on your nearest Toyota dealership, where you need to go and sign in the papers so that they can do the handover of your car to you. As I've said, tickets are available on our official charities and at Comrades website. So let's get those tickets. If you're still running when we do the draw, it doesn't matter. We will contact you after the race. and then you will get your car after a week after, or once you have transported the car on your closest Toyota. Some few updates around our expo. If you are not running, or you have a company that would like to exhibit at our expo, we still have spaces or packages available for exhibitors on our expo. Packages are available on Comrades website. They start from 19,750 rand a stand, and then they goes up depending on the space that you require. If you are an exhibitor, the setup will be done, the build up will be on Wednesday from 8 a.m. up to 5, and then we will officially open the expo on the 6th at 10 a.m. and we will close at 7 p.m. On Friday, we open at 9 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. On Saturday, we open at 9 and close a bit early at 4. So make sure, if you are not from Durban or Pietermaritzburg, you make means to get to Durban or to Pietermaritzburg if you are collecting in Pietermaritzburg as early as possible, because once we've closed the expo, we pack everything in the truck get locked, and then it comes back to our office. So once you've missed that time, or you missed the truck to get or that time, once we've closed the expo, you will train the whole year, you qualify and do everything in your power, but you will not be able to run if you are not able to make means necessary to collect your race pack. Or if you know that you will be running late on the day, you have other commitments, make means as early as possible. The means that would be made on lastminute.com do not work normally, based on my experience on this side, or on the organizing side. So if you have other commitments and you know you'll be flying in or driving down to Durban on Saturday, please try and make means like a week before, or 2 weeks before, with your club mates, to get them to collect for you. You can get information what is required on our info team by emailing them at info@comrades.co.za, so that you don't miss your race after running and qualifying, after training and qualifying. The last thing on my item tonight, I would like for you as runner to just remind you that time matters. So you train, you meticulously time your training, your distance, your pace on or on your race, and every second counts as when you are a runner. That is important to one of our sponsors as well. So time matters not only to you as a runner, but to also some of the people that are helping you on the day. We have an app from our Netcare, which is one of our sponsors. We have a Netcare app that we are trying to get runners to download and have it, which will really come in handy in case of emergency. And if you download this app, you on race day, if you have any emergency need, you can just log into your app and click on help. Then they will be able to track you and find you as soon as possible wherever you are, because it has a live timing, so they will be able to track you. This will help you even on your training. If you have a problem around your training and you need medical help, you can still use this app. So we really encourage runners to download this Netcare app. It is available on Apple Store, on Google Play, and App Gallery, and make use of it. You may never know when you may need it or when you may need medical attention. So whenever you need that, and we pray that you don't need it, you can use this app to get that agent's attention, medical attention. Thank you so much. That's it on my side. I would really like to say break a leg, but we need those legs on race day. So good luck.
Excellent stuff, Sophie. So thank you so much for that update of what's happening at Comrades. Some exciting things happening on the charity front. Also a great chance for you to win that Toyota as well. If you have just joined us on the webinar, welcome. We are going to be talking all things Comrades 2024. We've got the official Comrades Marathon coach joining us in just a sec. Before we get to Lindsay, Sifiso, a couple of great questions coming through. And don't forget, we do love questions during this webinar. So please do pop any questions you have in the chat, and we'll try and answer as many of them as we can throughout this webinar and get the help that you need. I just had a look, and we've got over 600 people live on the call with us right now, which is great, but it's not even 3% of the entire Comrades field. So if you haven't shared this into any of your running groups, or if you're in a Facebook group where runners hang out and talk Comrades, please share this webinar. All you need to do is click the link in the browser and pop it in there. Let's get as many people onto this webinar so we can help as many Comrades runners get their medal in 2024. Sifiso, just three quick ones. The first one is from Mergen Govender. Mergen saying, question for Sifiso: I ran a qualifier in 4 hours, 50 and 18 seconds. Will Comrades accept that time as a qualifier?
4 hours, 50 and 18 seconds. Yes, we will accept it. But next time, run it under 450.
Yo, Sifiso, I think you're opening a can of worms there. It's under 450, but Mergen, Sifiso said they'll accept it. Get hold of Comrades, get hold of Sifiso, and they will sort you out. We've got one from Michael Francis asking, I'd like to ask how you'll be monitoring the people at the start that move past the actual seeding before the race. So second Comrades first up, so also a novice. A great question from Michael Sifiso, because we did have a lot of runners jumping the seeding pens before they were supposed to last year. What has Comrades put in place this year to stop people doing that? And I think before I get the answer from Comrades, I'm just going to appeal to runners to not do it. The easy way to fix it is to stay where you're supposed to be at the start. I think that's probably the easiest way.
Yeah, that is a great advice, Brad. Just to answer you, Michael, I think after last year we have learned a great deal from a lot of mistakes that happened from the start, on the routes, and everywhere. So we are putting some means in place and more security on the start, and more marshals to channel people to wherever they to go to the right seating batches. And I would really be disappointed if there is anyone who's here who will be disqualified, because if you do not listen to those marshals, they can actually disqualify. That can jeopardize your whole year training, and you will not run the race if you are trying to be smarter at the start. So please respect marshals and the security guards that will be there. We are adding more marshals and more security around the start to try and monitor that, and there will be more that our race director will announce in due course, that we are putting in place for such things.
Cool, great stuff. Sifiso, another one from Kanya Putini. Kanya is saying, are there going to be buses from Maritzburg back to Durban after the race?
Yes, there are buses, but it's important maybe to highlight this. We have, as Comrades, an underprivileged runners village that we have here at YMCA. By the way, applications are open right now. If you need an underprivileged runners village accommodation, we cater for those runners. We provide them with blankets, mattresses. We cater for them for everything. We provide them with buses from the start to the finish, and from the finish back to the venue. You can sleep on a Saturday and after race, and leave on Monday, and all these days you will be catered for. So it's important to make sure that if you are sleeping at YMCA at underprivileged runners village, there are buses dedicated for those runners, and then there will be other buses that are dedicated for runners that you need to pay for. Tickets will be available at the expo. When you get at the expo, they will at information, they will show you where the stand will be for the buses where you can purchase your tickets. So buses will be there available, but it's a paid for service. not unless you are at underprivileged runners. And also, if you are not at underprivileged runners, you can't get in those buses.
Awesome stuff, Sifiso. Thank you so much for that. I have to laugh about the buses to the start and to from the finish, because every year you can get those tickets at the expo, and we get a lot of our international runners looking for the coaches. And obviously buses overseas are coaches, so everybody sends them to the Coach Parry stand because that's the coach. So we get lots of people asking us for bus tickets. Unfortunately, we're not the ones who sell the bus tickets, okay? But if you go to the info counter at the expo, they'll definitely be able to point you in the right direction. And I know last year was right next to where you picked up your number, so it's well marked and pretty easy to find as well. So Sifiso, thank you so much for that. I'm sure there will be some more questions later on in the webinar. We'll get you back on if they do pop up. But right now, it's time to get the official Comrades Marathon coach onto our webinar this evening. And I said to him earlier on today that we had, or he's got a running mate in his group that he trains with for Comrades that will hear a story or experience something and will say to Lindsay and the rest of the running group, I have got the best story for you, but I'm not going to tell you it now because it's probably worth at least 2 kilometers. And then he saves it for a training run or a race. And then tells them the story. And I had something happen on a morning run this morning that was absolutely brilliant. It was hilarious. And I spoke to Lindsay this morning and I said, I've got a story for you, but you have to wait for the webinar tonight. So I'm going to share that a little bit later on as well, because I think I may have traumatized somebody in Cape Town this morning. It is so funny, but you're going to have to stick around for that question in just a moment. Lots of great questions coming through. Please do keep them coming. We're going to get Lindsay on in just a moment, but I think let's get our guest onto the stage, our special guest who's joining us this evening, and an absolute pleasure to welcome her onto this evening's webinar. She is a legend when it comes to Comrades. We've got so many great stories to share around this wonderful race. And that's exactly what we are going to share this evening. And it's a very warm welcome to Gina Henschliff. Gina, welcome onto the Comrades Marathon webinar. We're so glad to have you with us tonight. You started running a number of years ago. You've got a double green and you're heading ever closer to that triple, which will happen next year. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And let's dig into a little bit of your story, because your story is amazing. Won't you tell me how you got started running Comrades? I know you ran your first one back in 1989.
Thanks, Brad, and welcome to everybody to this webinar. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to be sitting here. And wow, who would ever have thought that I'd be sitting here chatting to you about my beautiful love affair with the most beautiful ultramarathon in the world? Well, here I am. Little did I know back in 1989, as Brad mentioned, when I started Comrades, that I would have achieved my green number in the year 2000, and then headed on for my double green, because of course, when you've done one, you have to do one up and one down. You do your 10 and you've got to do one up and one down in your green number, and then you hit your 20. And here I am heading for my goal of 30. And I was just thinking about that when I thought about my chat tonight. And when I run my 30th, I'll be less than half my age. So guess what that is? Well, it'll be 58. So 58, and having completed 30 Comrades, I'm in for the goal. I'm in for the challenge. Well, where did all that start? I spent many years watching Comrades as a schoolgirl. I was never an overachiever or a big achiever in any sports at school. A few years after finishing school, at the age of 22, I decided this was my turn. I wanted to do Comrades. And my brother had already done one, and I thought after seeing him run, I was inspired. After watching all those years on TV, I was inspired. And there was very little, there was another little motivator at the time, which I'll just share with you. I had a little bet with somebody, and the prize money was 1,500 Rand. And guess what? Guess who won? Of course I did. And with that 1,500 Rand, I bought my first motor vehicle, a little Mazda Bubble for 1,500 Rand back in 1990 when I bought it. I didn't know too much back then. I used to train 10Ks a day, No long runs, didn't have a training plan, but I was consistent. And with what I knew and what I trained back then, I set out in May 1989 and challenged myself to my first Comrades, finishing in 10:28, which, by the way, I'd love to get now. Of course, then it was the obvious, after completing the down, that the up was a must. Off I set, did the up run, finished that, and that was the start and the momentum to where we are now. 8 Comrades Marathons later, I met my husband in 1996, and what a winner. He's a runner too. So year after year, we continue to run Comrades. We trained together. He taught me a lot. And then in 2001, our little baby came along. So our training was split. I did my training while he did his training separately. But together, we both still continued pounding that pavement between Maritzburg and Durban. And here we are with a current combined total of 60 Comrades medals. This takes Shane and I to the top of the most finishes between husband and wife teams, and myself in the top of the most ladies with the most finishes. The training has certainly evolved over the years, with long training runs, quality sessions, and consistent training times, improving my running. So my PB at the age of 43 in 2009 was 8:29. So from that average girl at the age of 22 and some 21 years later, look what was possible. And you can all do the same. If you have the dream and the desire and you have your head and your heart that gel, runners, you can all do it. Believe me, you can. Set yourself that goal and you'll achieve it.
Gina, that's so inspiring, and I love the story that it's. I mean, you normal like the rest of us. You've got a family, you work, you married. It's just amazing. What has been your sort of the key to your longevity? What's kept you going for so long and been able to stay injury free and keep up the training and doing what you've been able to do?
I think good nutrition is definitely one of the key factors, and mental health. If you're physically fit, there's no two ways about it that you're mentally fit, which brings around emotional fitness. So it all gels. Your nutrition, you fit, you're running, you're mentally fit, and it all feeds off each other. Injury-wise, I have had a few injuries.
I was going to ask, you must have picked up the odd injury over the years. How have you sort of stayed as consistent as you have, even with those niggles?
I do take supplements. I have had knee problems over the years. If we go back a couple of years, probably to 2015, I ran in knee braces. The physio at the time had advised me to run in knee braces just to stop that lateral movement. Did that for a couple of years. I take my supplements, my chondroitin and closamine. Never look back. I'm running absolutely pain-free, no any issues whatsoever. And I think the consistency of running makes a huge difference as well, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. Gina, here's a great question. I'm going to pose this. It's from Corley. Corley's saying, how do you deal with kids and training? I think for all of us who are married, have children, I've got 3, and the juggle is real. I know that. How do you manage the juggle and the struggle of training for a race and the physical, the amount of work you have to put in to have a successful Comrades, but also getting that balance right on the home front?
Find yourself a good wife or husband, like I have. No, it's about sharing. It's about compromising. It is tough. I mean, I work full time. Fortunately, my daughter has finished school. But, where you've got a will, you'll find a way. And as long as your family support you, I think that's what's important.
Gina, the race has changed a lot since 1989, since your first one. And I know that because, and Lindsay can probably attest to this too, that him and I both grew up around Comrades in the sort of late 70s, early 90s. Lindsay's dad's obviously got great pedigree at Comrades, been a 3-time gold medalist. My dad's run 11. So growing up around Comrades, we've seen some big changes. But for somebody who's run since 1989, how has the race changed? Like, tell us a little bit about what it was like in 1989 compared to today.
Well, sure. There was a big difference from on the race days. The tables have always been good. I mean, everything's relative as we've developed over the years. But one thing that stood out and people shriek about now is we used to have running troughs with water in them, and we were all given a sponge when we started Comrades. I think it was in our goodie bags, and you would run along with your sponge tucked behind your shorts, and at every water trough you would dunk your sponge in and then wet yourself. I hate to think what was in that water, but we all did it. We all survived. The finish, gosh, what a difference the finish was. I think I still have my little clocking cards. We used to get a little clocking card with our finishing time. As we crossed the line, we'd go through the tunnel, get our medals and our badges and a little clocking time. So yeah, from clocking times to chips, and now to your RFID tags, big difference in technology.
Yeah, things have definitely changed. I remember those troughs. I'd actually forgotten about them and the sponges. And you're so right. Comrades is a strange one, because early days in the Comrades, like when you're running early on, people still have their senses about them, and if they need to go to the loo, they'll head to the Portaloos. But later on in Comrades, all bets are off and people just do what they want. And it was the same with those troughs. Like in the beginning, people would be very sort of just dip the sponge in, but like second half, last third, people would be like dunking themselves into those troughs as well, like climbing into them to cool down. It was it was something else to see. Gina, another quick question for you from Shakun Ramji. Shakun wants to know, what are your current times? What sort of times are you running at the moment, and what's your goal for this year?
So current times, between 11 and 11:30. But I've committed to myself that next year for my 30th is definitely back to a sub 11, the real Comrades.
I love it. That is fantastic. And then I'm just going to pop you one more, and then we'll get Lindsay on. We've got a lot of novices on these webinars, and novices both in the sense that they've never done an up or it's their very first Comrades. What advice would you give to the novices? You've got a lot of experience in successfully running this race. What do they need to know come the 9th of June?
I think the most important thing is that you enjoy it. Go out there, make sure that your heart and your head have gelled. Make sure you've done your training. But at the start, you need to be excited. You will be excited. You will cry when you hear Chariots of Fire. And from that moment, with every step that you take, just enjoy it. Just savor everything that happens on the route. The crowds are incredible and they're amazing. Just cheer, absorb the cheer, wave to those people. Please don't stop and chat to your friends and your family. Keep running. You'll be amazed about how much time you actually lose when you stop. But just keep going. When you start feeling low, if I'm around, my number's 15985, give me a tap on my shoulder, I'll pick you up and I'll take you through. But when you're down, just think about the end. Never stop thinking about that finish line, to all of you. For those running your first up, it's going to be a challenge. We know that first 45Ks is all up. My daughter included, her first up this year. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy every step of the way. Just absorb it. You're special. The crowds love you. They're out there early hours of the morning and at the end, pickled, yes, having their bras and their beers and their wine, but they love you on the road. So just enjoy it and love it.
Absolutely. Gina, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's super inspiring. The comments have been amazing. People loved hearing a little bit about your journey and what you've been able to achieve. And I want to wish you all the best for this year, and particularly for the onslaught for Triple Green. It's an incredible achievement. 30 years of running Comrades is a lot of mileage, but it's also a lot of commitment and just an unbelievable achievement. So best of luck this year, and we look forward to following your progress all the way to 2025 and beyond. I'm sure. I'm guessing you're not stopping at 30.
Nope.
I love it.
All going well.
Brilliant. Gina, thank you so much for joining us this evening. If you've got any more questions for Gina, please do fire them through. We'll get her back on in a second. And now it's a great privilege to welcome onto the webinar this evening the official Comrades Marathon coach. I mentioned the story, Lindsay, and your great running mate, Campbell, who something will happen and he'll say to you, I've got the best story for you, but you have to wait for a run because we're going to get through some kilometers. So I'm not going to take kilometers to tell the story, but I had the funniest thing happen to me on my morning run this morning. So if any of you, and I want to ask, so if any of you are following Lindsay's training programs, both on the Comrades website or on the Coach Parry app, you'll know that Tuesdays are hill repeat days. So I shuffle things around because I cycle on a Tuesday, and I see a lot of you doing your hill repeats on a Tuesday when I'm on my bicycle, but I do my hill repeats on a Wednesday morning, right? So this morning I was out bright and early. I say it wasn't that bright. It was pitch dark, okay? In Cape Town, it was misty. It was cold. Where I live, it was a beautiful morning to be running, but it was very, very dark because there was no moon. And I was probably on hill rep number 2 or 3, and I do it on a fairly quiet road. Very seldom are there runners coming down the road. And as I was running up this hill, I was belting it up the hill with my headlamp on. So, I mean, you should be able to see me. I saw a bunch of runners coming down the hill towards me. And in Cape Town, I'm guessing they're Comrades runners. So they might be on this webinar because generally Cape Town runners, after 2 Oceans, everybody shuts up shop again until Cape Town Marathon. They don't do anything unless they're Comrades runners. So if you see somebody in Cape Town running now, you know they're running Comrades, right? So these guys were, and I presume they were all guys, but they were running down towards me, and there was a few of them, 4 or 5. It was dark. I couldn't really see. A couple of them had headlamps on, but they were running abreast, so shoulder to shoulder, so across the whole road. So I was running up the right-hand side of the road, right against the pavement, and these guys were coming down towards me. I had a headlamp on, so you'd think they would see me. I'm presuming everybody did see me, except the guy who was the furthest to the right of the road, so in the same path as me. And I literally got to within 1.5 meters of the guy when he realized somebody with a massive headlight was heading straight for him. And he literally jumped and screamed like a 10-year-old, like absolutely screamed like a 10-year-old. His mates obviously saw me, but he didn't. And they nearly collapsed. And in the commotion of me running past, because I'm not stopping my hill repeat, I've still got 30 seconds of this repeat to go, he realized who I was. He recognized me in the dark. And in amongst his scream, he was like, "It's Brad! It's Brad!" But by then I was gone. I just waved. So I just do want to apologize if I did traumatize you in Cape Town this morning. It wasn't on purpose, but you would think you'd be able to see somebody who's 6'8" with a massive headlamp running towards you. Apparently you can't.
So that was worth waiting for. Good story, very funny.
All right, enough of my stories. People are here to hear you. Okay, lots of great training has been happening. Lots of long runs taking place. I'm going to hand over to you. If you've just joined us, Lindsay Parry is the official Comrades Marathon coach, has been for a number of years. Very good run in his own right. 7-11 Comrades, and has got some invaluable advice for you this evening. So take note. If you've got any questions, please do pop them into the chat, and I will make sure that we answer as many of them as we can. Lindsay, it is over to you.
Oh, yeah, and tough act to follow. Gina's story, very cool, very inspirational. And in her closing remarks, she's done some of my job for next week's novice seminar. So maybe we had her on the wrong webinar, but it was still a great talk, awesome to hear, and really always just so lekker to hear from, that's a South African word for our international guests, for very cool. Yeah, just to hear people that are so passionate about the race. And just in case you haven't been believing me the whole time through, I've kept these slides because I want to drum it home so that you all know that these webinars are about us wanting you to start, okay? But much more important than starting is that we want you to finish Comrades. Obviously, not everyone can win Comrades, but we hope that through these webinars that we inspire someone to win Comrades. And I've actually been looking through Facebook and looking at some of the Two Ocean stories, and then there's a couple of things that have come up from Two Oceans and Comrades, and then there was one guy in particular that I really just I love seeing this. First Comrades 10:56, so just under 11 hours. Got a silver medal last year at Comrades. That was his third Comrades or fourth Comrades, whatever it is, and he's got his next one loading. And I think reading there he was targeting sub-7, but he ran a silver Two Oceans. So yeah, you just don't know where this Comrades journey is going to take you. And so we can't all win Comrades. We can't always be amazing runners. However, I am always amazed at how people who just did not know that they were good runners start running because they just want to do this crazy race called Comrades once, and then they end up chasing gold medals and so on. So just it's an amazing race with an amazing platform. But yeah, that is it. You have to get to Comrades finish. That's what these webinars are all about. So we are doing the uprun. I am going to talk about the route in great detail in next week's novice seminar, as well as in our final webinar. So I don't want to go into too much again. It's a rough ask. It's 1,600 meters of climbing, and yeah, more than 2/3 of that are in the first 37 kilometers. That is the challenge. That's what we're training for. This just graphically represents it a little better. But yeah, like I said, next week on the novice webinar, I'm going to talk through that in great detail. Those are the so-called big five: Cowies, Fields, Bothers, and Chunga and Poly Shorts. And then just to let you know, the names of these aren't important, but in particular, the internationals are always like, okay, well, we've heard about the big five, but what is this? Only to find out that it has no name. So I've given some of their names, and yeah, like I said, that we will be pushing towards next week, and again in great detail on our very last webinar 2 weeks before race day. So I'm going to talk about the long run, the learnings that you need to get out of that long run. We're going to talk about the next 4 weeks, but that's going to be fairly brief because it's actually quite uncomplicated at this point of time. We are hitting our peak training literally as we sit here in the next week or two, and then we're going to roll into the taper. And what does that mean? And then I'm going to talk about injuries. Okay, so let me start with the long run. So for the vast majority of the field, you will be doing your long run next week on the 5th and 6th of May. And for novices, we want to be doing the long run this weekend, 6 weeks from race day. So I like novices to do their long run 6 weeks from race day. And that is because this is probably the furthest that you're ever going to have run in your life. And because you are quite new to running, you need time to recover from that sort of run. And so that's why I really like that 6 weeks. And I haven't even said this to Brad yet, but I was looking for a run for one of my very experienced, much faster runners on the 11th of May. And that is 4 weeks out. And that is typically when everybody used to do their long run. And I have been the Comrades coach for 17 or 18 years. And that is one of the things that I've been trying to change. And for the first time, when I started looking for these Comrades long runs, I started seeing that most of the clubs are having their long runs this weekend, catering for the novices. And then there are a few clubs that are having their runs next weekend. And I've got to say, it felt good. I felt like you sometimes feel like you are shouting into the void and no one is paying attention. So that was really cool. I'm so thrilled about that. But that is why we want the long run to be long enough so that you start to get a taste of what Comrades race is going to feel like. Okay. We want the long run to be slow enough so that you can get a taste of what it's like to take your nutrition and to run at the pace that you're going to be running Comrades. Because Comrades, normally, we actually run slower than what our normal training pace run is. And that's why it's very hard to dial your pace in at the beginning. I saw just before I came on, one of the questions was, well, how do you know if you're running too slow at Comrades in the first half? And my answer to that is that if you think you're running too slow in the first half, you've probably got it just about right. Okay. So I don't think you can run too slow. In the words of Bruce Fordyce, you know you're going to have a good day when you're running up Fields Hill and you are feeling great. But the trick is not to take advantage of it. You must just carry on cruising nice and patiently and slowly. So that is the other side of the long run, is that you really want to make sure that you are going to get a taste of what that is. And I don't know, I think I've mixed up my slides here because I know I've done, there we go. I knew the slide was there somewhere. Sorry, I just mixed my slides up. So that covers the win. We won 60 Ks, 60 Ks, 6 weeks before Comrades for novices, 5 weeks for the bulk of the field. And for our very fast runners, they're going to go 4 weeks out. Okay. We want it to be between 50 and a maximum of 55 Ks. But for novices, I'd strongly encourage you not to go beyond 50 kilometers. Okay. For your next week, it will be 50 to 55 Ks. And then for our much faster runners, I still like 50 to 55 Ks. There's still a few runners in that category that like the good old 60K run. But the important thing is why 50 Ks and not 60 Ks, which is the traditional number. And that's because 60 Ks was not created equal for all runners. If you are training for a sub 7-hour Comrades, your 60K long run is going to take you 4 to 4.5 hours to get through. But if you do 60 Ks and you're training for an 11 or 12-hour Comrades, you're going to be out on the road for 8 hours. So your relative intensity might be the same, but one is getting 4 hours of exposure and the other one's getting 8. And so the damage you take on 8 hours is just too big. Okay. So we want it to be 50, maximum of 55. If you have done law school, 2 oceans, Omdida, then it does not need to be 50 Ks. In fact, it shouldn't be 50 Ks. If you've done law school, you need to treat that as your long run. So then it means you would have done your long run at 7 weeks out. That's important. If you do a 50K this week after doing law school last week, you're going to end up injured. Okay, so don't do it. If you've done oceans, that's your long run. Then you're going to do like 40 to 45, and you're going to move it to next week, even if you're a novice, but you're going to do maximum of 45 Ks. Okay. How? You're going to do it really slowly. Okay. We do the Comrades long run because we want a taste of what it feels like. And as I've said, so that you can feel what the pace feels like, so that we can dial in on our nutrition and so that we can test our race equipment. So I do want you to use the hat, the suntan lotion, the Vaseline, the running kit, the socks, the shoes, the bra. Everything that you are planning on using for Comrades Race Day, you're going to use it in here. This is your dress rehearsal. Okay. When it's finished, can't even speak. When it's finished, sit down and analyze how everything went. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What is possible to change? So what are the things that you can fix between now and Comrades, okay, that you can still test and try? Because on Comrades Race Day, you cannot do anything new. So this is your dress rehearsal to really dial in and fine tune and tweak a few things between now and race day. Okay. And so that you don't forget what you used, what worked, how you used it, when you use it, sit down while it's fresh in your memory and make a list so that you've got that list for race day. Okay, I'm going to go through those lists again in detail with the novice webinar. I'm going to go through those lists in detail 2 weeks out. But you're going to use those lists when you pack. You're going to use those lists when you're in Durban to make sure that you've got everything that you need. And you're going to use those lists when you wake up in the morning and you are getting dressed and making sure you've got everything, and you are making sure you know exactly what you need to do on the road between Durban and Pietermaritzburg. So that is quite important. Okay. I'm training in May. We are coming off of our peaks. So we literally are in our peak weeks, and that'll probably, peak weeks might extend into May. But pretty much from the end of the first week of May, we're starting to chop down. So we're going to be going into our 40 to 50 Ks a week for finishes. Bronze, maybe a little bit longer, I'd say 50, 55. Robert and Charlie, 50 to 60. Your Bill Rowan's 60 to 70 Ks, and your silvers will be 80 to 100. And as I've said all the way through, these are kind of your stock weeks, and there might be a run or a week that pokes its head out above those. But once these long runs are done, that is kind of what you are aiming to target as we move through May and towards race day. Okay. So when we go after the long run, everyone's going to be like, okay, I'm ready for Comrades. Now it's time to taper. We don't want to start tapering immediately. Okay, you're going to do your Comrades long run. If you're a novice, you can do that 6 weeks out from race day. You can't taper for 6 weeks. Your long runs are going to be shorter on the weekend now. So in a sense, the taper has started, but that's why it's even more important to keep the pressure up in your kind of Monday to weekend stuff. So we're going to keep training normally for another 2 to 3 weeks after your long run. Okay. And then we start the taper. So I've said there's slow burn. That's what I mean by that. I mean, like at the beginning, it doesn't really feel like we're tapering. You don't want it to feel like tapering. 3 weeks out, you're going to get a noticeable difference because the weekend run is going to be quite a lot shorter. And then 2 weeks and 1 week out is where we really slashed out. So we go down to 75% of the training and then 50% of the training. And then we get to race day. How important is tapering? Well, it's critical. You've done all this training, you've really improved your fitness. The last thing that you need to really nail Comrades race day is freshness. And without the taper, you will not get fresh. And you can grind out a Comrades. And that's the amazing thing about the training that you've been doing for months and months and months, is that you can grind out a Comrades, but you can't truly enjoy a Comrades if you're grinding it out from 15, 16 Ks because your legs are tired. So the taper is absolutely critical in terms of giving you bounce in your step, making you feel super fresh, super excited, and giving you mental freshness, because that's what you're going to need in the last 65 Ks of Comrades, is the mental freshness. And by saying in the last 2 weeks, you cannot hurt yourself with the run that you didn't do. So when in doubt, you leave it out in the last 2 weeks. There is no run in the last 2 weeks that leaving out will break the training that you have done over the previous months and months. Okay. So that takes care of the taper. We'll get into race day, race week, and the lists in the webinar 2 weeks out. Right. I'm going to just finish off my bits talking about injuries. I'm not talking about specific injuries, but this is another stat, just like the opening slides. This is something that I've been hammering home literally since January when we did the first webinar. And 68% of finishers that don't get a medal start with an injury. Okay. So you do not want to start with an injury. If you have an injury from now until race day, treat it like your house is burning down. Okay? There is no time to waste. There isn't time to wait. You cannot train through it and tell yourself that I've only got this last little bit of training to get through. You're going to make the injury worse, and you're going to risk whether you get your finishers medal or not. Okay? So if you get injured, you rest. You put ice on it. If you've got some compression around, you put it in. And because it's our legs that get injured, your leg goes up against the wall and spend a bit of time every day. What's the 48-hour rule? Well, anything that's still sore after 48 hours of not resting, get to a physio. Okay. I've been like, right now, the only thing that interferes with you finishing Comrades, you guys have done the work. We've got a few weeks left of good training. And if you get through that training, you're going to do well. You can only compromise your comrades from here if you get an injury. So 48 hours, rest, ice, compression, elevation. If it's not better, get to a physio, get to a physio. And then once that injury is healed, between now and Comrades, to ensure that you get a Comrades medal, you don't catch up the training you've lost. You don't put in extra training. You definitely don't put in extra high intensity training. You want to get consistent and you want to get steady. So as long as you get in your 4 runs a week and your strength training, once that injury is cleared up, you don't aggravate it again, then you are going to get your finisher's medal. Okay. So between now and then, all we want is consistency, volume over intensity. Okay. So that doesn't mean you must run as many kilometers as you can, but it means that when you look at your training plan, if you've got 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers in your training week, it's more important to get the 60 Ks in than it is to get the hill session in, for example. Okay. If you get the hill session, it's great. If there's nothing wrong with your training's going well, then please do it. But my point is that from here on in, it's getting consistent with your mileage. It's not your ability to run fast that's going to get you across the finish line, comrades. It's your ability to just keep going at a easy to moderate pace for hour after hour after hour. Right, that is it from me. And now it is time for my favorite part of these things, and that is answering questions.
Yeah, gee, Lindsay, absolutely love doing these webinars, and we've been doing them for a long time. I think we spoke in the last webinar, we had figured out that we've been helping people for over 10 years get their Comrades medals. There was people on the last webinar who were going for green this year, and they did their first webinar, used our first Comrades using these webinars. So we love answering the questions. Hopefully you got a lot out of Lindsay's presentation, but I know everybody loves these because this is where we can really help you as a runner. And I asked earlier if you would share this webinar into your running WhatsApp groups. And I know you haven't done it. And the reason I know you haven't done it, because the running group that I'm in hasn't been shared in. I can't multitask, so I can't share it. So I know there are people in that group who are on this call and they haven't shared it. So come on. If you don't be selfish, you're not in it to win it. So let's help everyone get their medal, okay? Just share this link into your running groups, into your WhatsApp groups, so we can get as many people over the finish line in Pietermaritzburg on the 9th of June, okay? Lindsay, let's get straight into the questions. There are so many great questions. Before I ask the first one, I just wanted to mention this as well. I know you were talking about some of the things we're doing with the next webinars and the novice webinars. I also just wanted to share this because I know that a lot of people have been using these podcasts and videos that we've been putting out every single week. If you listen to podcasts, you don't want to miss these, okay? We publish them every single Monday. You can scan that QR code and then listen in whatever app you use, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast. Just click on that or just scan that QR code and it'll take you straight to the podcast. You can subscribe. There is gold. The feedback we've been getting on these videos and podcasts every single week is phenomenal. So there you go. Lindsay, first question. Let's talk a little bit about the long run. There's been great questions about the long run. This one is coming from Musi. Musi saying, how many ultras must a novice run before Comrades? I've done 4. Umdidam, Irene, City to City, Tshwane North Ultra. And Musi's asking if he should do one more before Comrades.
Musi, there's a saying that I have that I can't say on here. It's an Afrikaans saying, and it's ek sê vir jou, whoa, beep, whoa. Okay, that's enough. You've done enough. So look, the thing with training is that you can do crazy things and get away with it, and you have gotten away with it. So let's not dwell on the fact that you shouldn't have done it, because you have gotten away with it. You're not injured, but we do not want to risk you getting injured now. So that's it. You have done your Comrades long runs. Between now and Comrades, I wouldn't do another run over 36 Ks maximum. Okay, so if you just get flipping consistent there and hit some 25 to 36 K runs over the next 3 weeks and then start your taper, you're going to have a great Comrades. But if you do more of those long runs, you're going to be so, if you don't get injured, you're just going to be so tired by the time you get to Comrades?
Cool, great question, Musi. Here's another one, Lindsay, from Mary. Mary's also been doing lots, but seems to be quite sensible. Ran Omdidam Easter 50, now just did the Ironman 70.3 in Port Elizabeth this past weekend. Well done, Mary. That's a great effort. Can I still run a 50K on the 5th of May as I've planned?
So you can, but should you? And the answer to that is no. I think I would still do a 40 to 45 on that day. Look, the 70.3 Ironman is probably a really good training session. So I wouldn't, in terms of its physiological benefit, it's probably quite similar to a long run. But in terms of the physical damage, it's nowhere near as bad as a long run. So from that point of view, 70.3 is quite a good thing to have done. And the other two are also great, but they're enough. I think that's the answer to that question. And so I would go out and do 40 to 45 next weekend, and then start your gradual taper from there.
Yo, Lindsay, so many great questions coming. I think we might be here all night, which is not a bad thing. But here's one from Tulani, which is a great question, because this is something that we are huge advocates of at Coach Parry. And Tulani wants to know, when should you stop strength training before Comrades?
Yeah, shot for that question, Tulani, because I actually meant to mention that when I was talking about the taper, 10 days out. So that your last strength session before Comrades, I will give you the date of that. It will be on Wednesday, the 29th of May, will be your last strengths. And then because your body does get used to doing things, and the tape is important, but it kind of craves some stimulus. Then what I would do in place of the strength training is just a little bit of mobility. So maybe a little walk, and then some mobility, or a 5-minute spin on a bike and some stability. But I would definitely just do a little bit of something, but the strength comes out 10 days before.
Great question, Tulani. Thank you so much for that. Lindsay, two questions, they're very related. And this one is from Danita. Danita saying, what should the limit be on hours we spend on our long run? Is it about 6 hours, right? And I know you're a huge fan of running to time more than distance. I know we've been talking a lot about like 50Ks and 60K long runs, but I know you're a big fan on time. And then there was a follow-up question from Amanda saying, I was actually hoping to do my long run for over 8 hours to help with my mental strength. What should be the longest in time-wise that your long run should be?
Yeah, so look, I'd be very happy with 6 hours, and I'd say the absolute upper limit would be like 6.5 hours. And that kind of ties in with a finisher doing 50Ks, would be about 6.5 hours. But I'd be very happy with 6 hours upper limit. 8 hours, it's a very long time to be out there. I'm worried about like I think Amanda might need to reconnect with friends and family. I think she's running away from something. She wants to be out on the road for 8 hours. But yeah, sorry. On a more serious note, it might give you that like psychological advantage. However, what's going to happen is that you're going to actually have used up your mental toughness for Comrades race day. And I always love reading the back pages, obviously the sports section, but I always, Comrades was such a huge race growing up, and so I used to read every single story going into Comrades, and going into the Olympics and coming out of Olympics and going, and like I would see the same sort of stories unfolding, or narratives is the word I'm looking for. The same narratives unfolding all the time. And one particular narrative with Johnny Halberstadt, and there was another, and it was very similar with Mark Page, and there was another athlete whose name I now forget. There's always this narrative around how many long runs they've done, how well they have gone, and then Johnny Halberstadt in particular, there was like 3 years in a row where he had already won Comrades. As far as people were concerned, he smashed everyone so badly in his Comrades long run that he was unbeatable, and he never won Comrades. in fact, he walked a lot in Comrades because he'd be done mentally and physically. So Amanda, don't do it. It's too long. Yeah, depending on how many long runs you've already done, that long run needs to be between 5 hours and upper limit of 6.5 hours.
Great question, though, Amanda. Amanda was also asking where can she watch the recording of this webinar. So on the YouTube channel that you're watching, and I'm going to ask everybody to do that right now. And the reason being is we have got some, over the next coming weeks to Comrades, some amazing content coming out. But we also published something on Monday. So I'm going to tell you about that now because that's related to what Lindsay just said. But if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button on the YouTube channel that you're watching this on right now, because what that'll do is it'll notify you as soon as we publish the other pieces of content that we've got coming, and you don't miss out on any of those. We've got stuff coming up on getting to race day, planning your race day, all of that sort of stuff. The taper, we're going to be going way in depth on that stuff as well. But Lindsay, in the video that we published actually yesterday, it was Tuesday, you spoke about the time being relative to how much time you spend on the, and I know I'm going to butcher this, on the road. For someone like me, as an example, who's just a sub 12, like 50 Ks for me at race pace is a lot longer time wise than somebody who's targeting a silver medal, as an example. And where a lot of people get fixated on the distance, they don't take into account that I personally would be spending way more time on the road. So if you want to dig into that and find out the reasoning behind it, go onto the channel that you're watching this. It is the last one. It's got a picture of Lindsay on the thumbnail, and it says something about relative time theory. I think it's called. Go and check that out. It is absolute gold. Okay, Lindsay, lots of questions. I'm not going to put them up on screen because we've probably had 5 or 6 of them asking about cramping. A lot of people struggling with cramps, particularly late on in races. What advice can you give to them?
Yeah, so look, cramping's it's a particularly tough one because it's been studied. So many people have studied cramping, and no one's come up with a definitive theory in cramping. Okay, really, there are a couple of mechanisms around cramping, but without getting too technical, the biggest reason for a muscle cramping is that we across joints have got 2 muscles called an agonist and antagonist, but we've got 2 muscles that effectively work against each other. They don't work against each other, they work in opposition to each other so that the joints can move. But while one is contracting, the other one is relaxing. So that's how they work. Okay, that's how we get movement across the joint. So if your calf is pushing off of the ground, then your peroneus and anterior tib, the muscles in front, will be relaxed. And when you hit the ground, or getting ready to hit the ground, the anterior tib and the peroneus will contract, the calf will relax. And that's this is how this works. And similarly, we go up, you've got the hamstrings that as you push off the ground, the quadriceps contract, the hamstrings are relaxed. And then as the leg swings through, the hamstrings are relaxing, the quads are contracting, and then we hit the ground. So now what happens is there's this cross-bridge fatigue that develops, and then there's some delaying in the signaling. And what happens is that there comes a time where there's an overlap between the 2 muscles contracting at the same time. Boom, and that's when we go into cramp. Now that is caused by some form of fatigue. And over the years, the theory has been that it's a shortage of calcium, potassium, sodium, because those are the 3 minerals that are quite prevalent in the messaging of the signal that goes through the nerves, as well as part of the contraction and the contracting and relaxing of muscles. Okay. Now, what they have found in the research is that about 1/3 of the people who suffer from cramp, when they take electrolytes or cramp stop or cramp not or any of these products, and the main ingredient in all of these products is electrolytes. So they find that 33% or 1/3 of the people that take these products, that then stops cramp. But the other 2/3 it has no impact. And the other thing that's really come out clearly in the research is that people who cramp will always be more susceptible to cramp. So training better, doing strength training, incorporating a run walk strategy, so doing walking before you need to, are all things that prolong the time to cramp, but that people who cramp will always tend to be crampers. Okay? There are some products on the market that act on your receptor sites for your motor neurons. So the nerves that stimulate your muscles to contract. There are things that act on those motor sites, but they are also different for different people. And those are weird things like Rennies, pickle juice, and in some cases the hot capsicum, the hot part of the chili. And so there are some products. There was a very good South African product that worked, but I actually haven't seen it around for a while, called Cramp Knot. You could get it at Discount. I haven't seen it around for a while. But there's an American product called Hot Shots, I think it's called, which is very similar. And those are essentially gels that have got this chili extract in it that then acts on the motor neurons and calms the motor neurons down so that we improve the coordination of the cramping. But essentially, your biggest weapon, if you have been cramping late in a race, in your qualifier and the ultras that you've been running, then one of your biggest defense for that is to do your strength training over the next 4 weeks, and then on race day to implement a run walk strategy. And that run walk strategy will make sure that if the cramps come, they come much later in the race so that it doesn't actually jeopardize your ability to finish the race.
Awesome, great questions. Yeah, like I said, lots of questions coming in from cramping. Lindsay, I don't quite know how I feel about this. I feel quite triggered, and I know Simone well, and I'm disappointed that she's asking questions like this because she's stirring the pot. Simone wants to know, for interest's sake, when will you run the Comrades again, Coach Perry and me? Like, Simone, I thought you liked me. Why are you putting me on the spot like this? Linz, are you prepared to answer this question in public?
I'll almost certainly run the 100 again. Must actually work out if it coincides with when I'm 50 years old. I thought which is turn 50 in 4 years or 3 years, turning 47 this year. So what's that? 3.5 years. So yeah, that was the plan. I will run it again. Just at the moment, we're just so busy around the race, and the joy that I see on people's faces when they see me supporting them on the side of the road, I don't want to rob people of that. But yeah, I'd almost certainly run the 100, and I do love the up run. So this year was actually very tempting for me to run this year. So I'm unlikely to do the down run next year, but there's a pretty good chance that I'll do the up run after that.
Yeah, I don't know whether I should answer that question, Lindsay. Simone, I'm loving my running at the moment. I don't want to put any pressure. For the first time in a long time, I'm feeling fitter than I have for years. I mean, please, it was cold and misty in Cape Town this morning and dark at 5:30, and I was out doing hill repeats. I have not entered a race, so don't know what I'm training for, but I'm training really hard, which is great. Maybe next year. We'll see. We'll see. But I can't believe you asked that question, Simone. I'm disappointed in you. Question from Dion Radolph, Lindsay, and we were talking about this at the office today. Will you be selling pacing bands at the expo again this year?
Yes. So there will be the normal pace bands that are on the half hour that will go to, and the proceeds of that will go to charity. And then the good news is we'll also be selling on-demand pace bands that, for people that have got some times that are in between there, and we'll do those also on pre-order just to try and keep the queues to a minimum. No one likes standing in a queue before before they have to run an ultra. But the answer to that question is yes. And to avoid last year's debacle where they just got stuck in customs, we have sourced all of that locally. So they will be printed and done locally. So they will be there on time.
Absolutely. And if you want to find out, as Lindsay said, those custom ones, as well as the normal sort of bands that we're doing, we are going to be making that announcement very soon on this YouTube channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. It'll be in one of our upcoming videos that we are going to be recording in the next week or two. So you don't want to miss that. So hit the subscribe button now. Lindsay, great question. Two of them coming through about the mental side of Comrades. One from Nadine saying, I'm doubting my ability to go beyond a certain point in my head on the day. Nadine's a novice. How do I prepare mentally over these weeks to go beyond when it matters most? Fabulous question. And then also one from, this is from Hadness. Hadness saying, what can I do to improve my mental prep for Comrades? I've done some long runs, 35 to 47, but how can I prepare myself for that 65 to 88K area on race day? And just so both of them know, Liz, before you answer, everybody goes through this. If you've ever run Comrades, you doubt whether you can do this. That is so normal. You're not alone. I think it's important to know that too, that you're definitely not alone in thinking this.
Yeah, so look, part of the answer to that question is in the freshness. I mean, you've trained hard for really long and you've done a lot of these runs on quite tired legs, but when you get to Comrades race day, your legs will be very fresh at the start. So part of the answer is in that. The other answer is that it's very emotive, even in a small race where there aren't spectators. The emotive part of a race and having other runners around you picks you up, and it gets you to a much further part than you think you're going to get to before you struggle. Okay, and then there is the crowd at Comrades, so the excitement and the kind of cheering and the Gina summed it up, like people love you. They like absolutely recognize that what you're doing is quite incredible. So those are the kind of things that carry you through much further than you actually think. And then there's breathtaking views and there's beautiful sunset. And there are lots of things that you can use to distract yourself. Brad was joking about stories. That comes from my good friend Campbell, and that's exactly it. So you're going to meet people and talk to people and use people around you, like actually engage. I engage with the crowd. Like if someone shouts, my cheesiest one, but it's just always people love it. It's like, you looking good, thanks, good looking, like whatever. You just chirp the crowd. If they tell, when I ran the Oceans on the weekend, I wasn't feeling amazing, but someone told me, you nearly finished. We weren't even halfway, and they said it with a straight face, and I was like, hey man, you should be playing poker. And then so you kind of interact with the crowd, you make jokes, and then get some things ready. Okay, so because it is going to get hard. So I've told you all the things that are going to get you much further down the road than you anticipate going before you start to waver and wonder, like, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And then you need to have an answer. So why am I doing this? So know your why, and then prepare a couple of mantras for yourself, and also keep reminding yourself how hard you've worked to be where you are. So like the reality is that you earned the privilege to feel what you are feeling. That's the solid truth of it. You trained hard, you qualified, you made it to the start line, and you got yourself to. For most people, it's around the 65-kilometer mark that the real wobble starts. Maybe it'll be a bit earlier, maybe it'll be a bit later. But the point is that you can like tell yourself, I earned the right to be here. So this is what I came for. Now I have to get over it. So why is this important to me, and how am I going to get over it? One of the things that works for me, and it makes me wonder sometimes if I'm very smart, because I can keep tricking myself with exactly the same thing every time, is that I get to the point where I'm like, right, Lindsay, tomorrow doesn't matter. Next week doesn't matter. Next month doesn't matter. Next year doesn't matter. If I never run again, that's okay. But today I'm going to finish what I started, and I'm going to do it well. And it doesn't matter what it costs me today. And that's kind of in any race, whether it's a hard race and I'm trying to run a time, or if I'm just trying to get to a finish line, that's a mantra that works really well for me. So get something like that that's very important to you. If you're running it for somebody, or if you're running it for a cause, those are all little things that you can keep in your locker. And then when the chips are down, don't think about the distance that you've got left. Think about the next milestone. So when I start Comrades, even, I'm not thinking about I'm running 86 Ks. I mean, that's quite overwhelming. If you cross the start line and go, I've got to run 80, I don't think about the fact that I run 86 Ks. I'm running to get off the highway. So if I'm doing the up run, I'm running to get off the highway. Then my second thing is that I want to try and get to 45th cutting feeling quite good. So and to 45th cutting, so not 45th cutting, Cowie's Hill. Once you're off the highway, you are on 45th cutting. When you are then it's like, okay, I want to get to Cowie's Hill and I want to feel good there. So I'm going to chat to people and I'm going to use people, but I'm only going to worry about that next piece. Then once I'm in Pine Town, all I'm focusing on is Fields Hill. So that's 3 kilometers. I'm not thinking about what's beyond that. Once I get over Fields Hill, I start looking forward to seeing somebody in Hillcrest. So generally there'll be someone waiting for me in Hillcrest. So that's how you build your whole race, is that you don't think too far ahead. You're thinking about the next bit and the next bit and the next bit. And then when you get into 65 Ks and you are really struggling, you can just tell yourself, right, I want to get to the next 2Ks. When you get to those 2Ks, you focus on the next 2Ks. When you get to the next 2Ks, you focus on the next 2Ks. Then before you know it, you're at poly shorts and you're like, I just want to get over poly shorts. And once you're over poly shorts, you might be tired, you might be sore, but you know that 98% of what you're going to run from the top of poly shorts is downhill. So that's kind of how you go through it mentally. But importantly, you will get much further than you think before you need to start using all those kind of tricks.
Great question, and what a great explanation too. Lindsay, an important question. I'm surprised we haven't been asked it on this one, and it is wonderful. From Natalie Leviskachny. Natalie saying, long run weekend this weekend. Would you still recommend the run-walk strategy?
Yeah, so I actually need to take myself outside quickly and smash my head between the bathroom seat and the toilet bowl, because I should have spoken about that when I spoke about the long run. It's absolutely critical that you implement your run walk strategy on the Comrades long run. Yeah. And so, look, I've got a bit of a general rule of thumb that I like to use, but you can adapt that for yourself. Your run walk strategy's got to work for you, both mentally and physically. And by mentally, I mean a lot of people look at it and go, ooh, they want to feel like they've earned their walk. But the point of the run walk is to keep you as fresh as possible. So you've got to settle in your mind, okay, how much am I supposed to do? So like now for finishers, 11 to 12 hour runners, I like a run walk strategy that's effectively like a 6 minute, 1 minute, 6 minute run, 1 minute walk. So in other words, lots of walking, and then like 9 hours to 11 hour. I like that to be like a walk every water station. So effectively every 3 kilometers, or like 15 to 20 minutes. Every 15 to 20 minutes, we're having a walk break. And then for silver medal runners, or should I say between 7.5 and Bull Run to 9 hours, that would be every second water station, so every 6Ks. And then for silver medal runners, I like to have a 1 minute walk every 9 to 10 kilometers. So let's call it every third water station. And then on the hills to do extra walks. Okay, so again, for finishers, I reckon like a 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. You run 1 minute, walk 1 minute, run 1 minute, walk 1 minute is a really good strategy for taking the hills. And those walks aren't, I mean, you're not dawdling like you're taking your dog for a walk or you're kicking some sand on the beach. You're walking with purpose, firm walk. So those run walk, yeah, 1 minute, and then for the sort of middle of the pack, 10, 11 hour comrades, that would be a 2 minute run, 1 minute walk, or 2 minute run, 30-second walk. Bill Rowan guys, 3-4 minutes of running, 30 seconds walk. And then for the silver guys, any hill that is going to take you more than 10 minutes. So in other words, most of the hills in the first half, you want to take like a short little walk, a third and 2/3, or at least one short little walk halfway up. That's kind of how I do it. And yeah, thanks. That's the second question tonight for something that I was supposed to talk about in my talk. So yeah, definitely gonna get out the cat o' nine tails before I go to bed tonight.
Yeah. And Lindsay, the truth of the matter is there's very few people that run the whole of Comrades without walking. And when it comes to Comrades, you want to make sure you walk before Comrades forces you to walk, because that's not a fun walk, let me tell you. That's for sure.
So that's actually talking about funny stories. When we had the Pretoria Roadshow, they had Nick Bester talking, and he was running a down run. I can't remember the year, and he was coming fourth, and his brother was seconding him, and he was coming up to Tollgate, which is in those days it was 5 km from the finish, and his brother said, "Come on," I think it was Janiki who was in third, who was just ahead of him, and his brother said, "Come on, Nick, you can do it. Janiki is walking," and Nick was so broken, he was like, "Oh, okay, then that's the perfect time for me to walk." And so then Nick Bester started walking. So the reality is that genuinely most people will walk, whether it's voluntarily or because you just get to a point where you have no choice.
Yeah, and it's much better to be doing it voluntarily where you're planning it than it's being forced. That is for sure.
Yeah.
I don't normally do this, but what a great message from Carmelita saying this is probably the best webinar you guys have done. My third Comrades, so I've watched a few. Thank you, Carmelita. Thank you. That is awesome. We're glad that 3 Comrades down, you're still watching these webinars. It means we're adding value, which is perfect. Lindsay, this is such a brilliant question from Reese. Reese saying, what do you eat on the run? Are there burry roll stands somewhere, or do we just chow our gels like we do on our long runs?
Yeah, so there are definitely burrables roll stands there along the way. You can't buy them, but if you can stomach that sort of thing, you will definitely get one from a spectator along the way. And on the more serious side of that question, it's very hard to only use gels at Comrades. So there's really like a smorgasbord of choice on the route. So there is plenty on the route. And you do want to practice with it. So on the route, you're going to have thirsty, you're going to obviously have water. They've got, I've forgotten the name, the brand now, but basically Mars, they've got on the, it's sponsored. I can't believe I've forgotten the name. Maybe Sofiso can pop it in the chat there. But slices of potato. They'll even have alcohol-free Bavaria. There will be bananas. There will be sweets, gummies. Sofiso, give me the name. I can't believe I've forgotten it. You're on mute.
There we go. You on?
But for Food Lovers Market.
No. It's the traditional maize drink.
Thirsty.
No, man. The maize thing. We've got vanilla flavor and chocolate flavor, and that's it. Michal.
Yes.
Yeah. Michal is what I was thinking of, and there's sliced oranges, and so there's tons of there's little sandwiches like on the there's loads, but you do want to practice with what is available on the route, and obviously some of the gels we've been practicing with. Most clubs will have most clubs will have tents. Let me finish one thought at a time. I'm behaving like I've got ADD, but so most clubs will have some gazebos along the way, and then you can put little things that you are used to, but also, and I was about to say that I often put like a lightly salted packet of chips at the club tent, so I can just get something salty, so that it's not just sweet stuff that you're taking all the way. But they do have like crisps, potato chips at some of the water stations. So there's a huge variety of stuff. And then later in the race, my absolute favorite is when you get Coke and cream soda, but especially the cream soda. When you've been drinking Coke and thirsty and taking gels, then the change in flavor profile when you get to like 65, 70 Ks, as I get there, I can actually hear the cream soda singing to me. But yeah, so plenty en route, and you can't just. I mean, some people can, but law of averages. If you take gels for 9 hours, your stomach's going to get tired of it.
Yeah, Lindsay, I'm convinced that with the amount of food, and I mean, what you mentioned is what Comrades has at the sort of water tables and aid stations. But there's so many people along the route. I'm convinced that if you could put on weight at Comrades, if you actually took something from everybody along the way, you wouldn't finish because you'd be eating so much. But there is a ton of food along the route, and you just need to ask. If you don't be shy, I think that is also one of the things. If you do feel like something, just ask. People on the side of the road are super friendly, especially if it's your first Comrades. You'll know after. It is amazing. Lindsay, question here from Dion. Dion saying, what are the risks of being too cautious in the first half of the app?
There aren't any.
Short answer.
No, so listen, it's hard to do that. I mean, there's a lot of it's race. You're excited. There's a lot of anxiety. So I mean, you can obviously leave yourself too much work to do in the second half for sure. But yeah, another stat that I saw around the Comrades is that on the up run, there's like now I'm guessing a little bit, but it'll give the idea. But there's something like 60 something people who cross the halfway line on the up run over 6 hours and still finish Comrades, and on the down run that number's like 5 or 6, something like I'm getting the numbers slightly, but it's like it by factors of 10 that people who run faster in the second half of the up than the down. So it's very difficult to go too easy in the first half. Obviously, if you're going to do too much walking and leave yourself too much work to do in the second half to get your goal time, I mean, there must be a line somewhere, but I've not heard too many people that have complained that they went too easy in the first half. So yeah, I mean, come and chat to us at the expo with your pacing chart so we can really help you to manage what that number is for you. I think that's the simplest answer.
Lindsay, Shay doesn't like cream soda. He says he's tried it. Shay doesn't live in South Africa. He says he's tried it. It's awful. I don't think it's the same cream soda that you get overseas at South Africa. Sparlet's cream soda.
Shay, it's the same color as your rugby team's jersey, man. You got to give it a try at the 75K mark. Okay, then it'll change your life.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Lindsay. It's funny. I feel the same way about like Marmite sandwiches. Like if you had it like now, give me a Marmite sandwich, I would rather go. Like I cannot stand Marmite. But like 60 Ks into Comrades, it is the best thing on earth. Is that Marmite sandwich? And it's, as you say, it's just a change in flavor profile. So don't knock it until you've tried it at 70 Ks into Comrades. Shay, that is for sure.
I'm going to make Shay very jealous. I'm taking my son to watch Ireland against South Africa at Kings Park in July. So Shay has watched at Lansdowne Road a lot. So I think that'll make him just more than a little jealous.
Cool. Lindsay, question here from Liani Miller. Liani's saying, I've missed a week of very important training. I got sick after 2 Oceans. Any advice? I don't want to. I can't get sick again. What happens if you miss a week of training because of illness? Maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, that's look. It's a good question in so many ways, because honestly, the least important week of training is the week after 2 Oceans. After doing like a huge race like 2 Oceans, I wouldn't even worry about the fact that I missed that week of training. But I think the second part of the question is that's a great question, because yes, you don't want to get sick again. We do want to avoid getting sick. But often getting sick is a sign that we have overdone it and that our immune systems are compromised. Okay. So I mean, the best way to avoid getting sick is just to avoid people. So germs are just germs are opportunists. Okay, so and the best way to combat it is, I mean, obviously you can avoid people, but you can't really. But the second best way is to make sure that your immune system is a good place. And to ensure your immune system is a good place, it means you want to be balancing your training. So training hard, but not overdoing it. And the reality is Oceans is tough. Okay, it's a really tough race, and so you should have been taking it very easy in Oceans Week, and then you might still have gotten sick, but you don't get as sick. So yeah, if you do get sick though, what's very important is that you don't take the attitude that I can't miss this training, because it'll compromise your health further. It'll get you sicker. You'll miss more training in the long term. So it's the same as if you get injured. I spoke about injury, but perhaps I should have also mentioned the illness. If you get sick, treat it like your house is burning down. Go and see a doctor, get the medicine, rest, get healthy, and then get going again. And just ease into it. Don't like throw yourself into like you've just come back from being sick. Build yourself up the first week, then do a full week of training, and then you will be back to where you were in no time at all. But if you thrash yourself straight away, then you risk. So if you had a sinus problem, you better, then you go and thrash yourself, now it's in your chest. So just ramp that up. You're muted.
I'm impressed. That's the first time I've done that tonight. We did a webinar last night and I was terrible. So pretty good. Hour and 45 minutes in. That's what I was saying is I've just noticed we've been going for nearly 2 hours. It's been a very long day. Are you cool with me squeezing in 3 more questions?
Yeah, all good.
All right. This one from, I like this question.
People have been on this webinar waiting for me to tell you one day, no, I'm not doing it.
They're also waiting for me to not sneak any more in, because I always say 3, but I always I fandangle a few more in. So 3 is never 3. But this one from Lauren, great. I mean, we talk a lot of lingo on these webinars and jargon, and we forget that we do have a lot of novices on these webinars. Lauren wants to know about the pacing charts. Could you clarify, please? She's a novice. Yeah. Let's talk about what the pacing charts are, what the purpose of them are, and again, where we can get them.
Yeah. So Lauren, the pacing chart is essentially a piece of waterproof paper that you can put around your arm, and it gives you a good idea of where you need to be at what time to make sure that you get the time that you are targeting. So along Comrades and being a novice, another thing that I'll also will go over again in the novice roadshow, so do jump onto that one. But we count backwards at Comrades. We don't go 1K, 2K, 3Ks. The first kilometers to go sign you'll see will be 85, and then 84, and then 83. So the pacing charts will say to you that at 85Ks to go, you should be at X time. And then that allows you to keep track of, am I progressing fast enough? Am I progressing slow enough? Or am I going too fast? Am I getting too far ahead of my pacing chart? So it's got significant landmarks for you to have to look out for, and for tracking how you go. And it's really the ideal way to run Comrades for a particular time that you are targeting. The one that's a little bit different is the 12-hour chart. So what the 12-hour chart does is it gives you the times that you need to get to certain points to make sure that you avoid getting cut off the route. And while I'm talking about pacing charts, what's really important is that somehow people trust GPS more than they trust anything else. But you need to track your progress according to the kilometer markers on the route. They are accurately marked, and they are marked using the shortest route. Your GPS has a sampling error of 8 meters per kilometer. So even if you ran the shortest route, you are gaining 8 meters every kilometer. And that's why when you get to the finish, people complain that the race was long. It's not long. your GPS is not as accurate as you think it is, number one. Number two, you also don't run the shortest line. So that compounds that 8 meter per kilometer area. So that's the other thing, that you use the pacing chart against the kilometer markers, not against your watch.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that question. Another question that's for a novice, and I think, Lindsay, we often take things like this for granted, that we forget when we talk about them that not everybody knows what we are talking about. Mario wants to know about the pacing buses. What are they, and would you recommend them?
So the people who drive the pacing buses often are announced beforehand, and I would reach out to them via Facebook, whatever, and have a discussion of what their race plan is. And I would definitely have a pacing band, because some of the bus drivers are much stronger than the time that they are going for, and they actually don't know what it feels like to run under pressure, and they go way too fast, and that just ruins any chance you've got. So I personally prefer people to avoid the buses in the first 60 Ks, and then if you find yourself around the bus in the last 30-ish, 20, whatever, 25, 26 Ks, then it's great because someone else can think for you. Okay, so that's nice. You plug in, do what they tell you, and they will get you to the finish line. The other thing that's a problem with the buses, especially the very big ones, the like 11 and a half buses are huge, is that it's actually quite difficult to get your nutrition. So when you get to the water tables, the refreshment stations, it's just like, it's mayhem. There's 1,000 of you that will arrive at the same time, and now you're trying to get water, thirsty, Coke, Michal, and you can't get it. So that's the other thing just to be mindful of with the pacing buses. But most of the people who drive them are really good humans. They are fun. They sing songs. They play music. So there's definitely good gears in them. I just often worry. I spoke to a bus driver after Two Oceans, and he ran an amazing race and caught and passed the other bus driver that was doing his bus, but the Oak went through halfway like 10 minutes before him. So, that means that everybody in his bus was basically blowing up while the guy that ran the perfect race just cruised along. So I guess what I'm saying, have a conversation with the bus driver, get their race plan, make sure it aligns with conservative first half, etc., etc.
Yeah, Lindsay, and if I can just share my 2 cents worth and my experience of my first Comrades, because there were lots of things that went wrong for me on Comrades Race Day, but I do believe one of the things that I wasn't fully aware of the damage it was doing, but obviously subsequent thinking about it, have realized is I'm really strong on the ups. I'm a big guy, so I struggle on the downs. Like, they really hurt. So I've got to take it quite easy on the downs, but because I'm physically quite strong, I really do well on the ups. And I ended up in a bus early on Comrades, and they were bombing the downs. It was a down run, my first one, and then they would walk all the ups. And I can run quite a bit on the ups. So I was going slower on the ups than what I should have, and I was going much faster on the downs than I should have. And that actually did, I think, play a big part in me failing in my first Comrades. After that, never stuck in a bus, and have finished every Comrades I've run since then. So just a bit of advice there from me. Lindsay, one from Edwin, and there are still a number of people who are in the same boat as Edwin. Edwin's saying, is it worth having one last go at qualifying on the 4th of May, or is it time to call it a day? He failed at the Benoni 48K this Sunday. What advice have you got for Edwin to give it one last go?
Edwin, it does depend on how sore you are, and it's effectively the damage that was done and how far off were you. Okay, so on the 4th there's a 54K, the Prince Magasutu Buthelezi. That's the one that I know about on the 4th, and that's quite a tough route. So I think it's going to depend on A, how far did you miss by, B, how sore have you been and how much recovery have you required. Wally Hayward on the 1st of May is a fairly flat and easy course. And then there's the Buffalo City Marathon in East London. I mean, obviously, that's an expensive trip, but that is a net downhill point to point. So that's probably the easiest of the 3 qualifiers that I know are available on the 4th of May. I'm not sure which one you were thinking of doing. So yeah, I think those are the things you need to take into account. Is why did you miss it? How far did you miss it by? How sore were you afterwards? In other words, that'll give us a good idea of the actual cost to you of and why you didn't make it, and then we can kind of decide how sensible it is to do that.
Awesome stuff. Lindsay, it has been amazing. I love doing these webinars. It's been one of those webinars that I think has been an absolute classic. We've had some amazing questions. Obviously, we can do what we can do on these webinars, but I think everyone who asked questions tonight were phenomenal as well. They asked the best questions. And to our panelists, to Sifiso and Gina, thank you so much for joining us, both of you. We really do appreciate your time. And then, Lindsay, I'm going to let you give your parting shot. Before I do, though, I know you've got an in-person roadshow happening tomorrow, and then we've also got a novice webinar happening next week, which we'll pop you an email about. But if folks are wanting to go to that novice roadshow tomorrow, where is it? Where can they get details?
Yeah, so that is at the Stella Club. So, Sviso, is that at the actual club house, or is it at the school? Where do we
are at the school DHS on number 577 Thomas Road.
Cool.
What time does that get underway tomorrow night if people are in dirt?
7.
Yeah.
7 o'clock. Cool. Lindsay, last parting shot from you.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I've said it so many times, I can literally feel that Comrades fever is where it should be, where it hasn't quite been since the pandemic. And I really loved listening to Gina today. That was cool. I really enjoyed having you on, and I hope everyone has taken some cool inspiration from your story. I love it. It was very cool. And I look forward to you getting to 30 triple green. That's amazing. And then thanks to everyone for joining us. There would be no point in doing these without people coming on, asking questions and interacting with us. And there were some really good questions tonight. So thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to next week's already. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of you in Durban tomorrow.
Absolutely. And then just to wrap things up from me, one thing I love doing at the end of these webinars is asking you what you got out of this webinar. Please let us know in the comments below. We love reading what you got out of it. What's the number one takeaway that you're going to take forward over the next few weeks and implement in your training and your build up towards the Comrades Marathon? So please do let us know in the chat what that one thing is. As I mentioned, we are doing a novice webinar next week as well. We will pop you an email with the details of those. Look out for Comrades Marathon socials as well as the Coach Perry socials for all those details. And then we've got our final general webinar happening 2 weeks before race day. And we're going to share with you everything you need to know about getting to Durban, what you need to know about race day, and making sure that you have a successful Comrades Marathon 2024. Stay safe, everyone. It is starting to get quite dark and cold in the mornings and in the evenings when you are training. Make sure you are visible. Stay safe. Stay healthy, and we look forward to catching up with you on the next webinar, and most importantly at the Expo in Durban, and even more importantly at the finish in Pietermaritzburg. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight.